Hello folks, I'm Floral from Under a Rock, and today we're continuing in our little series of the Ten Commandments. And so if you've been following along for the last couple weeks, first week obviously we talked about how you shall have no other gods before the Lord. And last week we talked about how you should have no idols, right? So having no other gods, meaning having nothing else taking precedent over him. He's Lord, he's the boss, he's the one who gets to call the shots. And if you're not having any idols, that's meaning that there's nothing between you and him. And that little side perspective is that if you're a person, then, well, you're an image bearer of God. So that should cause you to, when you look at other people, be like praising God and stuff. So, yeah. And now, this week, we're talking about the third commandment. That you shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. So, what the heck does that even mean? Right? Does it mean if you stub your toe? Or is it a little bit more? No, I tend to believe that it's a little bit more. Now, obviously, does it apply to stubbing your toe and the words you say? Yes, well, obviously. Right, because using God's name for your own glory, well, that's a problem, because you're to serve God, not God serve you. That's where the heart of this is, basically. Right, you're not claiming God's name for your benefit. Right, you're marked by Him. You're His child, but you're not the one that's in control, so you don't get to use His name for you. That's putting yourself in the place of God, so it's an actual inversion of the first two commandments. All right, so basically, you can sum this up as people who would say, "Thus saith the Lord," and they're absolutely wrong and lying, or going against God's word, right? So there's lots of examples of that throughout history. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out what we're talking about there. So anyone that's a false prophet, that's using God's name for their own glory. And then you have those people who, simply say they're a Christian just to, get favor. That's a real thing. Politicians do it. Even people who go to church do it. They don't actually serve God. They're just claiming they serve God. So there's that. So ultimately, do not misuse God's name for you, because you are to serve God, not the other way around. So we honor His name. We hold it in high regard. Right? So it was misapplied and used in the sense that you couldn't say God's name. Right? That the Jews took it that way, thinking they could honor God that way. You couldn't write it down. So you have the words written certain ways, like Yahweh. Right? There's that. So anyway, that just kind of sums it up. But so there you go. Don't use God's name for your own glory. Use it for His. Right? His name is for Him. His name is for your benefit. But it's not for your glory, if that makes sense. Anyway, thanks for joining us in this little experiment where we go through the Ten Commandments. Have a good one.